Hello there and welcome to my channel. My name is Ava and I make videos about sewing, creating my own wardrobe, and pattern drafting. In today's video I'm going to be making yet another Reformation inspired garment, this two-piece set. It consists of this high neck, very sleek and simple top and a midi skirt with a slit that's got a crisscross knotted detail in the front. I wouldn't say this is a complete beginner project, but it's less tricky than it looks and it's completely doable. So let me show you how I made it. I'm drawing a line that represents the waistline. Then I'm marking the distance from the waistline to the lower belly. Then the distance from the waistline to the widest part, which is the butt, and then right under the butt. And then I mark the length of the skirt and draw perpendicular lines here. I measured the circumference of the waist divided by 4 and marked on the waistline. And I do the same for each of these lines. Because I'm working with a stretchy fabric, I'm subtracting 1 centimeter from each of these measurements. But if you are unsure, you can always adjust it later when sewing together the side seams. Then I connect the lines. Now back to the waist. I'm marking a point 5 centimeters down from the waist because I want the final waistband to be 5 centimeters thick. I draw a perpendicular line here. I extend the pattern paper and continue the line. I mirror the same measurement on the extended line. This next part is a little tricky to explain, so I hope you can see it well in the video. I basically connect the new waist point to the lower belly line. I draw a line upwards 10 centimeters long, or double the final thickness of the waistband. I connect it to the new waistline like so. It will all make sense in a minute. For the back, I'm copying exactly what I did in the front, except I'm adding about 0.5 centimeters to the butt measurement, so the side seams stay straight. How much you add completely depends on your body shape. You can also omit this step and copy the front pattern. Next, I'm lowering the waistline by 3 centimeters and drawing a curved line. Next, I'm cutting all the pieces out, adding about 1 centimeter seam allowance. I also cut a strip for the back waistband. In my case, it was 7 centimeters wide because I will be adding 3 centimeters wide elastic. And these are all the pattern pieces cut out. I'm starting with the back skirt piece. I'm folding the waistband in half and attaching it to the skirt using a serger. If you don't have a serger, don't worry, you can always use a zigzag stitch. I'm marking the length of the elastic and feeding it through the waistband. I'm not going for a bunched up elasticized waist. The elastic is only to add structure and support to the waistband. Then I'm sewing the sides shut. Now to the front pieces. I'm attaching the front pieces right sides together with a straight stitch, leaving the split open. My slit is much shorter than the original, but you can adjust this part to your own liking. And now to the twist. I'm taking one of the tails, folding it in half, flipping it over to the side that it's attached to, like so, and sewing it shut. I'm leaving about 1 centimeter open for the opposite tail to go through. Now take the second tail and feed it through. Again, fold it in half and attach it to the skirt. Sew it shut, coming as close to the knot as possible. And this is what it looks like now. Next, attach the front and the back skirt pieces together. To finish off the slit, I ironed on thin strips of interfacing to prevent it from stretching and curling. Honestly, I don't know if this was necessary and if you have to do it with every fabric. Mine was just very stretchy and very thin. Then I just sewn a straight line all around the slit. I serged the bottom hem, folded about 1 centimeter upwards, and finished off the hem with a straight stitch. When it comes to the top, I thought this was going to be such an easy and quick process, but I went through a lot of trials and errors before I landed on this pattern. Draw a straight line representing the shoulder and a parallel line 3 centimeters downwards. Mark the distance from the shoulder to the bust and to the waist. I'm adding 2 centimeters for the bottom hem. Again, draw a perpendicular line at these points. Mark the bust measurement divided by 4, and then mark the waist measurement divided by 4. At the shoulder, I mark 8 centimeters from the center, and on the lower line 17 centimeters, which is shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. I connect these lines. I also marked 8 centimeters down from the shoulder line and draw the neckline. Then I mark 5 centimeters on the slanted line. This can also be more or less depending on the shape you want. Then connect the lines. I draw a line 3 centimeters upwards from the bust line. Create the armhole. I'm not explaining this in too much detail because I'm still learning and struggling with this part a little bit, so I usually just redraw it until it feels right. I also decided to add a dart. I'm marking the bust apex, which is the distance between the 2 bust points divided by 2. Then I mark 2 centimeters to the side and draw a slanted line downwards. I made my darts 3 centimeters in total, and I added 1 centimeter at the armpit and 1 centimeter at the lower hem to compensate for the dart. And this is the finished front pattern. For the back, I'm copying the front minus the dart. I mark the bust line and the waistline, the placement and the width of the shoulder. Then I'm folding in the dart and measuring the length of the side seam. Then I'm moving the shoulder seam 2 centimeters up. I actually decided to go with slightly bigger armholes in the back and a 1 centimeter lower neckline. And this is the finished pattern. Then cut out the bodice parts. I'm adding seam allowances to the side seams and the shoulder seams, but not to the armholes and the neckline. And I'm also marking the darts. Next, I'm sewing the darts shut. Then I'm attaching the front and the back, right sides together at the shoulder seams. I'm also overlocking the side seams. Next, I'm cutting out 3 cm wide strips to use as bias tape, but since this fabric is very stretchy, I'm not actually cutting them on a bias. Then I measure the neckline. The bias tape needs to be slightly shorter, so I multiplied this measurement by 0.85 and saw a circle out of the bias tape. To make it even, I also marked the centers of the neckline and of the bias tape. Then I'm sewing them together, pulling the bias tape slightly. Next, I fold the tape inwards, like so, and sew with a straight stitch. And I did exactly the same thing to both armholes as well. Next, sew the side seam shut. At this stage, I put it on to see if I need to make any adjustments, but I was quite happy with the fit, so I just marked the length of the top. Lastly, I overlocked the bottom hem. To finish it off, I'm using this stitch on my machine. You can also use a normal zigzag, but I like using this one because it gives a more stable, yet still very stretchy seam. And we're finally done! If you liked this video and found it helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Until next time, and as always, happy sewing!